Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast. I'm Kyle, and we've got Trevor, and then a very special guest in Mike from, I don't even know where to start, Will to Live, Die Young, and probably 100 other things. So,
Spirit Adrift, holy cow, the list goes on.
so how are you doing, man? Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. No, dude, thanks for having me on, man. I'm doing all right, man. No complaints. Just busy as always, man. Always just staying on the grind, man. Pretty much it. How about you guys? How are you guys doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm
Oh
doing good.
yeah.
It's not 100 degrees in Texas yet, so
Uh,
I'm chill.
Man, we just got hit with some bad rain, man, over the night. So like it was. I mean, it was much needed, but it was a little too brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been hot though. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So do you just carry drumsticks everywhere and just drumming all the time? I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it just seems like, I mean, look, we do our best to like compliment people that, I mean, you're one of the best drummers in like the scene down here for sure. So like, I'm not musical enough to do that. So I just want to get it out of the way now and just say props to you, man. You're a legit drummer.
Man,
Like,
you are way too kind, man. But thank you, thank you, man.
But dude, for real, listen, we've got like half an hour, 45 minutes. Do you think that you can name all the bands and stuff in that time that you've participated in? The
Oh
list goes
man,
on,
I
dude.
mean, dude, I mean, we can really take it from the beginning, man. If you guys really want, I mean, yeah, you know what? Let's just say I've been fortunate and privileged, man, to play with some badass bands, man. With some good guys, dude. Some killer musicians, dude. It's just it's just crazy, man. Like I didn't think I would still keep doing it at my age, like from being when I
mhm,
started playing drums at 16 years old when I got my first drum set, you know what I mean? And now here I am, like 39 going on 40, so like it's crazy, man, how we're something you love, man, you know what I mean? Like you put all your
yeah.
energy, everything into it, man, and I'm still at it, still like, I guess I'm doing something all right,
Dude,
No, seriously.
killing
So,
it.
you said you got into like at least drumming at 16. Why the drums? Was it something you just saw and were like, I want to do that? Or
Man, it was just I really got it all from my dad, dude. Um he yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Dude,
So
you're all good.
yeah, he didn't play music, man. He was just a big fan of rock and metal, man, and so growing up, man, he was always having the music full blast, dude, like, and he would even drag me along to concerts, man, when I was little, dude. You know what I mean? So dude, I picked it up. I loved it, since the beginning, and I was just like, man, like I would like to do that, like I would like to
yeah.
do something of that, and so man, I just just
So,
go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say I've always wondered this because again, like I'm not musically talented at all. When you started playing, did it feel natural to you, or was it something that you had to like really, really work at? To, I mean, I'm sure you worked at it, but like, how did it come about? Were you just like you sat down, and you're like, all right, I got this.
Man, it's one of those things, man, where I truly felt like it came natural, like um I remember in seventh grade, I tried to get in the school band, right? And they're like, and I wanted to do percussion, of course, and they're like, no,
Yeah,
you should have started last year. It's gonna take you a while to catch up. I'm like, well, that's not very cool telling a student, like from what they want to
yeah,
get right. So I was like, whatever, So I ended up taking another class and told him I'll start my own band, right?
yeah,
And yeah, dude, and as soon as I got on the drums, I just felt like it came natural, and I think it was from growing up and watching all the videos and the concerts. I was always like looking at the drummer, see what the drummer's
Mhm.
doing. How's he making this sound? How's he making that sound? Like always just just full focus, man. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where and the rest is history, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like you said your dad was big into rock, big into metal and stuff like that. What are some of those like early childhood bands for you as you're getting into it? Because this would be what, the 80s?
Yeah, so I was born in '85, and man, believe it or not, the first concert my dad took me to was in 1988. It was Judas Priest and Cinderella. I have,
You were
I,
3 years old.
I was 3 years old. Yeah, and, and I have no recollection, right? I have no recollection of that show, like no memory whatsoever. But like that same year, months later, um, my parents took me to Van Halen on the OU812 tour that same year in '88, and I do. Dude, I no bullshit, man. Now with YouTube, right? You can go and look and see like that's really what happened. Is that what I
Yeah.
saw? Yes, dude. I clearly remember Alex's Van Halen's drum solo rising up, dude, on a big old pole while his whole drum riser is lit up all around him. So yes, if you go and YouTube, I'm like, did that really happen? And then, dude, yes. Go look it up. 1988, Alex Van Halen drum solo. Dude, yes, it's exactly what I saw,
That's
man. I'm like,
like
yeah.
that's like some Terrence Howard shit where he's like talking about memories in the womb.
Yeah.
Like you had such early childhood memories. But dude, that's incredible. three
Yeah.
years old and like you're going to Judas Priest, Van Halen, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's
Yeah.
it, everything is making so much more sense now. That like you're that young and immediately that rhythm is just pounded into you at that young.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah, it's funny because I remember a few years ago. I forgot which release we had. It was the God for Which We Suffer EP, I believe. And Daniel was putting a playlist together, and he was like, "Mike, send me some of your inspirations. Some bands that you're listening to are giving you the inspiration to write your drums for this EP." And dude, I shit you not, man. The first track on Whitesnake's the title track of Whitesnake's album "Slip with the Tongue," and it just starts off, dude, with Tommy Aldridge Wren, and when he gets into it, it's like and Daniel's like, "I hear you, I understand," like yes, so.
That's a crazy line to draw. Freaking White Snake to die young.
Right.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
man,
incredible.
and yeah, so dude, I guess you can say, dude, everything that I've took in and learned and everything that was inspired, man. Like from all those old school drummers, dude. Yeah, I guess I took it on with me to put it into the hardcore.
Yeah.
For
Like
Yeah.
real.
I mean, it has to start somewhere,
yeah,
and me and Trevor have laughed because like, we've talked about how like, my parents grew up in the 60s and 70s and, their parents thought all that rock music was Satan music. And I'm, just like, that's the tamest music ever. You should hear like some of this like grindcore, like there's crazy stuff out there now,
yeah.
and it's like, but it does start somewhere, you build on like a good foundation.
And what's crazy, Kyle? Is that my dad is from Mexico, right? So you would think growing up in Mexico, like you're surrounded by that Spanish culture style of music, dude. Right? Like you got,
Yeah.
like and my dad, through friends in school, through seeing what they could find on the radio, right? And yeah, it's crazy how he got into rock, like he got into the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wow, like because like I would think, you know, uh being from Mexico, you're like you're surrounded by Spanish music all around, and He dug deep, man. He dug deep. He dug, man.
Man,
So it's insane to me, actually, man. You know how, like, wow, like, this was his number one, music, dude. Of everything.
That's cool.
so you guys have been playing Mexico a little bit. You guys hit up Monterrey recently. So
Oh,
where was your dad from?
he's actually a little bit more south of Monterrey, so the state in Mexico, it's called Guanajuato. So he's from a little town called Juventino Rosas, and dude, it's pretty much like smack dab central area of Mexico,
Oh,
and
dope.
below Monterrey, I would say maybe like another 3 to 6 hours, maybe. Yeah, maybe even longer than that. I'm not sure. It's been so wild, man. It's been so.
So
Yeah.
growing up, did you spend time down in Mexico then and stuff like that?
Um, he would take the family. He would take me and my sister out there. From when we were little, like pretty much every year till like we were 18, and then after you hit 18 years old, man, you start
Yeah.
you start growing up, man. You start, finding yourself or whatever, right? What have you,
Yeah.
So, and not so much going back to Mexico to see all the relatives and stuff, man. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, but we would go, yeah, we would go like at least once a year during the holidays to go see all the
Cool.
relatives, man. So yeah, it was awesome.
That's cool. I was going to
Yeah.
ask, the reason I'm asking is because like how have you seen the culture down in like Mexico shift over these last 25 years, give or take?
Man, to be honest with you, I mean, I wouldn't. Like I said, like once I hit 18, the visits to Mexico were less and less. So, I mean, they're gonna go through all their trouble too, like like we're gonna go through our trouble here, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Is
I just know,
is the
like,
scene growing there?
the scene. Oh man, so you know what? Check this out. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually helped out Mikey Hood. You know what? I helped out
Yeah.
Hoods for a few shows in California back in 2021, right? 4 years ago. So,
Yeah.
and I remember when I did those shows with them, we would talk, and uh, he was saying like, "Yeah, we just did a killer tour Mexico, like, and they did like a full on like 6, 8 CD tour in Mexico or something like that, And he said like every single one of them was awesome. And I was like, man, I was like, that's badass. And so yes, the recent show that Will to Live just did in Monterey, oh dude, it was amazing, dude. And that was the first time Will to Live's been to Mexico and Monterey since 2007, I believe.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and it was, dude, it was so sick, man. Like we there were some old hits there that we connected with, back then, right? And Rob and the guys too connected with before, and dude, but a lot of new blood, and like it's awesome, man. It's awesome to see the young kids, man, and so yeah, Monterey's got a good scene, dude. So as I hear,
Cool.
the rest of Mexico's got a good hardcore scene right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome to hear.
that's way cool. So kind of going back then a little bit to your history. So when did you start getting into? I mean, you've kind of always been into metal, but what was your introduction to like extreme metal, hardcore, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. So like I said, it was man, dude. Actually, if you really want to take it back. Um, so I remember my dad. He would set the VCR on record with the 6 hour videotape. Right, he would just set it on record on MTV. Like for Hey Banger's Ball, like for all the
Mhm.
shows. Right, and, like he would just set it on record. Commercials and everything. Right, and dude, and I remember being that little and watching like the music video for the Ballad of Testament. I remember watching videos of Halloween, Anthrax,
Mm.
Warren Ensemble from Slayer. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh,
Oh
like
my
like
god.
like what is this? You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
remember I remember being that young, like, and because at that time too. I mean, I was. dude, I was all about the hair metal, and I'm still about the hair metal. I don't even give a damn, dude. You know what I mean? I love my hair metal, man. But dude, but when that would come on, you know, I'd be like, whoa, like what is this? You know, and then you know, and then being a kid, you know, of course, I was a fan of Beavis and Butthead, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
all the videos
Yeah.
that they would watch,
absolutely.
dude, I was like, yes, what? You know, other videos that I had not seen yet, you know, and it was so yeah, man, that was really all like my introduction to more heavy, you know, the start of heavy music, and then certain friends hanging out with in middle school and high school, and they're showing you, you know, like, hey, Mike, you know, check this out, you know, I was always going heavier and heavier, you know, harder and harder, you know, like
Mhm.
whatever. Um, man, I was even listening to hardcore before I even knew it was hardcore, you know. So
Yeah.
remember when Ozzy first came out with Ozfest and they had that Ozfest live CD? It had
Yeah.
Yeah.
it had Earth Crisis on it, Biohazard, you know, and I'm like, and I thought it was just a different kind of metal at that time, you know. God, what is this, man? God, this is jams, this is grooves, you know. And before you know it, I'm like, oh, okay, it's a different genre, really.
Something
Yeah.
new.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
new.
But man, that was it was awesome, man. And I think but we're really set the tone, man, was of course, man, that first Hatebreed album, Satisfaction, like that opened, I think to me, that opened all doors, man, you know, and then you go and look at the thank you notes, right? And they think all the bands, you know, like on the liner notes, right? You know, you're like, oh, who's this? Who's this? And then yeah, you just you know, go into a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah. You,
I'm going to ask you this because I was listening to the Garza podcast and he had Jamie Josta on.
Yeah.
And Josta was saying back in the day at the East, they used to call the breakdown a bust. He would say,
Bust.
like, they were setting up for a bust. Like, did you guys have any slang other than a breakdown when you were growing up, or was it always a breakdown to you?
Man, yeah, that's wild. Yeah, no, I never heard of bust. I never heard like anybody referring to the breakdown as a bust. I've always heard it either wait for the heavy part, or you know, or the you know, right? You know,
I think
and then
Jamie
and
Johnson was just on something, in my opinion. Like, I never heard that until him.
yeah.
yeah,
Do,
dude.
do you
And
think
you know,
Hatebreed?
man, what's up?
I was gonna say, do you think Hatebreed is like has the largest gateway band for people getting into hardcore?
Man,
I
well, you
swear
know,
Oh, that's a good
everybody's like
question.
pins it to Hatebreed.
I mean, well, dude, so okay, so check this out, right? Um, it was 1999, right? It was the reunion tour, Iron Maiden back with Adrian Smith and Bruce Dickinson, right? And in the opening bands, they had Push Monkey, which I think believe they were from Austin, Texas. And then like they were on Oscars 99, actually, dude. And then Puya was the first band, dude. And Puya, I don't know if you guys remember Puya, but they're from Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
They were on Auspice '99 as well, and yeah, and they were the first band on that tour with Push Monkey and Maiden. And I remember Sergio, the vocalist of Puya, was wearing the Hate Breed, you know,
Oh yeah.
tank top,
Dang.
and that was and me and my friend Lee were like, dude, what is that? You know, just like the logo, it
Yeah.
stood out, bro. You know what I mean? Or like, dude, we need to look that band up. You know,
Yeah.
you know,
Sick.
like, hey, man, that's how, dude. You know, it's like, that's how it all started right there. And also, too, man, I was getting into a lot, you know, of extreme metal. You know, I was getting into death metal and black metal. So, um, so yeah, Hatebreed being one of my first hardcore shows in '02 with Converge, and man, I
Yeah.
said that was sick,
Oh,
right?
man.
And then months later, it was Every Time I Die, Norma Jean, and Bleeding Through, dude. You know, and then so that first album, right, of Bleeding Through, dude, all the blast beats and stuff, you know, on the drums, I'm like, oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
like this is my shit, dude. You know, so that, dude, I would consider Bleeding Through another like, you know, gateway band, dude. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like you know, like a
That's
band like, oh,
awesome.
you like extreme music, but we bring the core, you
Yeah.
know, in our band, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that was. Yeah, that was cool,
You
man.
know, you know what's super interesting is you might be one of the first people that we've really talked to that their introduction to hardcore came through the metal side. Because almost everyone, especially the old heads, are always like punk. It's always punk that got them into hardcore. But you might be one of the first that was metal into hardcore.
Man, dude, I ain't never, I'm not afraid to say it, man. Dude, metalcore was my first, style of hardcore that I got into before I started really getting into the roots of hardcore and hardcore
Yeah,
punk, dude. You know what I mean? And
Dude,
because I was,
we're a couple years younger than you, but that was us too.
because I'm a big metalhead, dude. Straight up, huge metalhead, bro. Like I don't, dude. That's my first love right there, man. Is the heavy metal, and so so yeah, like all those like, if you're a heavy man, like and I was definitely more a fan of the heavier side of the hardcore bands, man, when I was getting into
right.
it, but now I appreciate it all, man. I love it all,
Sure.
like all the, what I mean. And and I feel like when you get older, your taste, opens up a little bit more, man. You appreciate more things. You
Hmm.
appreciate bands that you didn't appreciate back then. You know what I mean? Or,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, dude, oh man, I just no, I love it all, man. No, no, and Unearth too. Unearth is another.
Oh yeah.
Was another band, man, to me that I think set the tone for metalcore itself, man. Like back in the early days. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, dude. I mean,
So,
that's
so how did you get into like playing music in bands then? Did you get to a point where you were drumming where you're like, okay, I can do this? Or did you get with friends that you're all like, we all suck, let's just learn together?
man, no, dude. So I had so one of my real good friends, man. He's actually the guitarist and In Disgust. My one of my other bands, man. I was actually the first band that one of the first bands that I started, dude. So hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit more. Okay, so yes, dude. When I got my first drum set, dude, I was like so happy, dude. Like talking to friends and other friends that were getting into guitar too, and I was like, "Let's jam." Like sorry, dad, but once my dad left, my dad, like my dad worked nights, so I would move all the furniture out of the living room and tell the friends, come over, let's jam for a couple hours before we
Oh,
can't jam
sick.
anymore." You know what I mean? Like bring your
Yeah.
amps, let's jam, let's have some fun. And then I ended up having um I had my first band in 2002, and I played my first show actually in March of '02. The band was called Cause of Death, and it was my friend Ryan on guitar and Johnny C, who's now like the vocalist of the band Born Savage. If y'all can see it,
Oh,
like
sick. They're great.
they've been doing their thing for the past couple of years, man. Like man, they've been grinding, dude, and dude, they've been kicking ass. And so anyway, yeah, Johnny, man, he was actually the one that showed me like the hardcore and like all that, man. And then we really started getting into it and incorporating that into the music. And then so yeah, that we only did a couple of shows with that band. And I started a band with a good friend of mine from who I've known since sixth grade, dude. And he was really wanting to get into guitar. And once he got his guitar and cab, we started jamming, dude. And like that same year in '02, right? And yeah, and we started jamming, and we got a couple of guys, man, to jam with us. Uh and dude, that's where I feel like dude, I was listening to everything at that time, man. Of course, I was listening to like bands like God Forbid, Shadows Fall, Poison the Well, and then of course there's also the other side where I was listening to Terror, and then even the more extreme side, we're listening to Cephalic Carnage, The Red Chord, Dillinger Escape Plan. So, dude, we're just
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean, like, and
Yeah.
and so like the older we were getting, the more the more we were progress. So let's try to see if we can play like that. Let's we try to get better with our instruments, man. And um, so yeah, dude. So that's really what got me going, man. Got me flow, like trying to find my groove. With playing
Hmm.
drums, bands, and stuff like that. And and then when I joined Will to Live in '05, man, I think that's when, dude, all doors broken, bro. How that started was, you remember when we had AOL Instant Messenger, AIM,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I had Rob Talib's screen name, man, so I just started chanting it up one night, dude. And he's like, hey, if you, if you think you can make it out to Houston for practice, come on out. So yeah, oh my god, no problem, bro. I would drive from New Braunfels to Houston to practice, do like once, twice a week, dude, and still go to work the next day. Like,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
yeah, dude, I made it happen, man. And then Will to Live was the introduction to me, like as far as touring goes, um, like all of that, man. You know, just seeing what it was all about, dude. And I was like, man, this is it right here. You know what I mean? Like this is what I would like to keep doing. And yeah, dude,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and then the list of bands goes on from there.
holy cow. So talk to us about the early touring days, right? So you're probably what, 18, 19 when you first kick off touring?
My first tour, bro. Yes, I was 19 years old. Yeah, it was March.
19.
It was March, spring break of 2005. That was my first tour. Yeah, we
Okay, sick.
yeah, dude. Yeah, it was just a week tour, but that was that popped my cherry right there, man. You know,
Yeah.
and like it was just a week, but man, they awesome, dude. We got to play some killer shows on that run. I remember, so we played with an old school band. Well, at that time, right, early 2000s, there was a band called Under One Flag from Columbus, Ohio. Yeah, so they were doing their thing. You know, we played with them over there. There used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but there is a venue in Lemoyne, Pennsylvania called the Championship. Man, that was a spot, dude. And we played with Strength for dude, we played with Strength for a Reason on that run too. And now to me, dude, I'm like, God, this is awesome. To play with these known bands already this at that time doing their thing, dude. Like it was crazy. And then so there was a venue called Mr. Roboto in Pittsburgh, dude, that was a spot, and I remember it would get nasty all the time. Dude, shows were there, man, and we actually played with Since the Flood that night, man.
Oh,
So
sick.
yeah, dude, that was a hell of a first tour for me, man. That was really cool. And then the next big tour, we did a month-long tour with Pale Horse and Hoods in February of
Oh,
'06, man. So
dang.
that was that
That's
was awesome,
crazy.
man.
So give us either like a horror story, an awesome story, something like from those first couple years of touring that just like stands out in your mind.
A horror story? Oh man.
Does that mean or something like just something that like solidified touring for you as either this is super sick or damn, like this was crazy.
Oh wow, man. Man, you got me there, dude. I mean, if I mean a few things, I guess, dude. You know what? I mean, dude, for me, dude, just playing and seeing just the kids kill each other, bro. Like just seeing that
Yeah.
firsthand, like right in front of me. Because all right, yeah, there was crowd killing and stuff going on in Texas, but actually seeing it though on the East Coast, dude, I was like, oh shit, like,
It's a
yeah,
whole nother level.
oh, okay. Let me say this. Oh man, check this out. All right, so on that Hood's Pale Horse tour, right? We did 2 nights in Brockton at the Lions Den, right? So, dude, the first show. Check this out. Our tour combined with Remembering Never, Debt Before Dishonor, Black My Heart, and Ramallah, right? And they did a special
That's
blood for
wild.
blood. They did a special blood for blood set, dude, right? And dude, that had to be one of the craziest things I've ever seen, dude. And like, and I was like, I remember
East
being,
Coast royalty too.
dude, hey, it was like dickhead moshing, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, absolute dickhead moshing, dude. And
Yeah.
I mean, even for us, we were the first band of everybody, dude, and it was awesome, dude. I was like, man, it was, dude. I remember that being like, wow, this is, you know, cool to finally see that in person, dude. Like all the stories, man, and videos you would hear about the East Coast, man, like the way they represent, man, and it was
Yeah.
and I remember Will to Live getting a lot of love out there, man. Really, it was really cool to see that, dude.
You
That's
know,
no, that's awesome. Cause I was gonna ask that, like, is it hard? Cause back then, right, the East Coast has this like insane history legacy of hardcore and stuff. Was it hard being a Texas band? going out there? I mean, you said you got a lot of love and stuff, but did you kind of feel like an outsider playing those places, or was it just like one family? We're all good.
Well, man, like I definitely felt the love too, man, when we went out there. But like, you got to understand too, Rob and Will to Live, was already going on, like the band started what in 97, 98, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they made their way to the East Coast. They already had made their way to the East Coast already before I
Mhm.
joined the band, so the band already had love from like the guys from Death Threat and Terror and you know what I mean? And so like yeah, man. And dude, like the guys in Death Before His Honor, man, those guys are our brothers, man, and
Yeah.
they took in Rob, and the rest of us with open arms, man, so it
Cool.
was cool, dude. It was cool to get that kind of love, man, and to see that too, firsthand.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, for sure.
because I've always heard, man, being from Texas, I've always heard and also felt too, like you got to grind a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, you got to,
Right.
because we're down south in the middle. Gotta, we gotta make our way to the East Coast and West Coast, man. To get to spread it out. So
Yeah, you say that, but dude, Texas's scene right now is popping. Like you guys have a lot of really cool stuff going on right now. Whether it's San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, like
yeah,
it's
no,
awesome. There's
no,
good music right now.
Yeah.
no, you're right, Trevor, man. No, dude, absolutely right. I feel like the scene is very strong right now, man. We got a lot of good bands right now, dude. A lot of dude, these young kids, man, dude. Like they got some talent, man. You know what I mean? Like they're
Mhm.
and they're bringing the heavy, they're bringing the mosh, man. you know.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
There's a like a there's a cool mix though in Texas too, because like we're buds with the guys from Spit My Rage up here in
Okay.
Dallas, and like that's a
Yeah.
really cool, fast, like punk influence sound. Like
Yeah.
it's cool to be in a place where you get a lot of diversity because
Yes. Yeah.
scenes have their sound and stuff, but it's cool. It's cool
It,
right
it's
now.
it's cool too, man. Because I feel like the bands like they try to put in some of that punk influence. I feel like you don't hear enough of
Yeah.
it, these days. I feel like you
Yeah,
hear a lot more heavy, these days, man. But it's always like refreshing when you hear a new band like when they're putting the punk style in there, dude. And they're trying to keep it hardcore
absolutely.
punk. So but
Yeah.
Man, we've been talking about that. Like just the scene overall feels heavier recently.
yeah,
But I would say over the last 6, 8 months, because we were saying that just consistently with like the Tsunamis, the Kubla Khans, all these beatdown bands that were just
oh
dominating the scene, knocked loose.
oh,
All of a
yeah,
sudden, we started looking for that punk stuff. There is insane hardcore punk coming out right now. It is
yeah.
so good. Throwback, youth crew style, hardcore punk
Mhm.
style. Like everything is starting to come back and it's being super well received. It's awesome.
Man, hell yeah, that's badass. You're gonna have to send me some of those bands, man, because I'll be honest with you guys. Like I feel like I don't really get a whole lot of time to actually relax and listen to a whole lot of new music, man. Because man, dude, with that crazy music, I mean, I feel like I'm always having to learn something. Like
Yeah,
like,
I'm
like
nice.
you know what I mean,
Yeah,
like.
12 bands in a gun for hire, like of course.
Always,
yeah.
always practicing new songs, practicing the set, dude. I'm like, man, we used to do nowadays, man. When I get in my car, dude, I like the sound of silence, man. I would
Yeah.
feel like and then also, it's crazy at work too, man. You know what I mean? So like, I just try to. Like I like to make the driving time my downtime.
What are you listening to come down? Like Enya?
Yeah.
Are we doing like whale sounds, ocean sounds? Like, what are you doing to like calm down for that? Or just straight silence? Because I can't do just straight silence.
Yeah,
Gotta
yeah.
have something on.
Yeah, I know, if I do, man, if I need something, man, either, like dude, I'll turn on the radio, man. And
Yeah,
I'll find a mix station. You know what I mean? Like over here, like we got like Jack or Bob, and they play variety, man. Like they'll play the '70s, the '80s, the '90s, like
cool.
all that, man. And do I that and that's usually like just like gets me in the mood, man, to like decompress, dude.
Yeah,
Like. I mean, man, some of those songs, man, are timeless, dude. You know what I mean? Like, man, you just
Yeah,
can't.
for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that all that really just
So
like helps me relax. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, we joke about like what our guilt. Like I like some of the new like outlaw country coming out. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
like
Yeah.
there's some good stuff in Texas, and I that's kind of my like bring down. You know,
Yeah.
like
I got
Charlie
you.
Crockett and Sturgill Simpson stuff like that. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
we
I
joke
mean,
about it all the time.
listen, we connected at the Die Young show and we were talking sports. I listen to a ton of sports talk radio. Like
Oh,
that's
wow.
mine.
Okay.
If I'm listening to music, it's all sports talk. Like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
into.
yeah, dude. I know guys and I we're talking. I mean, basketball's my thing. You know what I mean? So like, but I don't get and I don't get a chance to listen to a whole lot of podcasts or sports talk radio, whatever. But I'll do come across the clips, man.
Mm,
That with Steven Jackson, and Matt Barnes, right? They
Yeah.
got their own thing, man. So like, all dude, man,
Yeah.
man, they're always talking about some stuff. They're always bringing up some cool stuff, and then they have some cool guests too. Like, so yeah, I think that's pretty cool right there. With what they're
You
doing.
know, their podcast is awesome because what we did here is we wanted to talk about like nostalgia bands and like stuff that we grew up with. They're talking about nostalgia basketball.
Yeah,
Like they talk about like the 90s, early 2000s and stuff like that. And it's like stuff when I was a kid and they were playing with all those people. So it's way fun to listen to those old guys. And they start bringing out like the old head names and the crazy
mm.
stories that were happening then. It's
dude,
awesome. They're great.
dude. Dude, what got me, dude, was that when Steph Jackson like apologized like face to face to Reggie Miller on the podcast, dude, and Reggie just
Yeah.
broke down in tears, dude. I'm like, oh man, I was like, dude, that got me, man. Like, god damn, man. Like
Which, listen, that's awesome. But freaking the NBA Finals, are you keeping up on how this is going so far?
with the finals right now.
Yeah.
Finals?
Hey, Halliburton, bro, he's something else,
Right?
man.
The
He
baller.
Freaking Reggie
he is
2.0 throwing the choke sign. The best
man.
thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, bro! And Reggie with the finger like that.
Yeah.
I see
The
you.
choke sign in the garden. You can't get better than that. Like the NBA Finals,
Crazy.
and it's crazy. It's Oklahoma City and Indiana Pacers, and I'm loving it. Like it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, dude. No, man,
Yeah.
they're both very competitive, man. Like they're God, but it's been interesting to see, but dude, something about Halliburton, man. Like when he gets it, man, he gets it.
He's so
For sure.
clutch. He's so clutch.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
well,
for sure.
back to music. So, you've been a part of incredible bands. You filled in for incredible bands. You mentioned Unearth at the
Yeah, yeah.
beginning of this is like leading the metalcore, charge. You got to fill in for them. What's another like band that may have been like an unexpected call or just like this is too good to be true call that you've received?
Well, dude, that right there, man, the gig with Unearthed, that was like wow, like I still can't believe I did that, bro. That happened so fast, dude. You know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, like, yeah, that was just amazing, dude. But another one that I can say that really caught me off guard was so there's an old school metal band called Watchtower. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, right? Okay, so the guitarist, Ron Jesenbeck, right? He's from San Antonio, and his brother Bobby, right? And one of my good friends, man, that I've known for a while, around here, he got a call from another guy that's been in the scene for a long time here, man, who he sang for a band called Low Key out of the San Antonio metal scene. And So him reached out to my boy Daniel and called me up and was like, hey, you dude, I just got hit up and we're looking for a drummer. They want to do like a cover band, and what do you think? And he mentioned Ron. I was like, no way, for real, that guy. I'm like, man, this guy is like a guitar genius, bro. You know, like he's like, you know, like he's out of this world, man. So that was even cool. You know, like it unfortunately it didn't, you know, it didn't go nowhere. But we had a couple practices together, dude, and that alone was like awesome, man. I'm over here playing fucking you know, Sabbath, Van Halen,
Sick.
you know, Kiss. You know, I'm like, dude, like what the hell, like, you know, just playing old school songs with this guy, and I'm like, ah, this is crazy, man. You know what I mean? And uh, even then, man, you know, like I've been playing with Billy and MOD, you know, since 2012, 2013, and I'm still like, man, I still can't believe that I'm in a band with that guy, dude. You know, and you know, so you know what I'm saying, like in, you know, like MOD, SOD, dude. I mean, those are, you know, bands that I got introduced to, you know, back in middle school and high school, man. You know, shit.
Yeah.
I remember being little too, back to, you know, when we were talking about like my dad, how he would set the VCR and record, right? Dude, the video for True Colors, MOD on MTV, Hit Bangers Ball. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's yeah, even then, like I still think about little things like that. I'm like, ah, it's so nuts, man. You know, like so yeah, dude, now there's definitely been yeah, dude, quite a list of bands, man. That it's just crazy that I had even a chance to play for.
That's awesome.
Was there a band that you got invited where you were like, we're trying to learn their songs, and you're just like, dang, I don't know, man. Like, cause like I knew a guy that was like filling in for another band, and he was trying to learn their older songs on guitar, and he was like, this stuff is crazy. Like, I don't know if I can learn it. Like, did you ever learn in other songs? Were you just like, oh shoot, like this is insane?
No, man, you know what? I got hit up by Matt Fox from Shai Hulud, and I think, dude, at that time, dude, like my mind was just somewhere else, dude, and I didn't have the focus, man, you know. And I remember, like, I was like, man, I don't know. I was like, you know what? I don't, you know, and with work going on too. And I remember at that time I was working a lot, dude. I'm like, man, I'm gonna need more time, you know, to learn these songs, because if you guys are familiar with Shai Hulud's music, dude, I mean,
Yeah. That's hard.
it's not your normal 4/4/4 music, you know.
Right.
You know, it's a lot
Yeah.
Yeah.
of it's a lot of changes, man, you know. And so yeah, I had to respectfully decline on that one, man, you know.
Right.
And you know, and even with Hoods too, dude. You know, like, man, you know, like, you know, when Will to Live toured with Hoods back in '06, and I get the call from Mikey Hood on my wedding day, dude. I'm like, man, I was like, man, how crazy is this, dude? Because oh, now check this out. With me, and my wife, you know, like I've known my wife for years, man. Like we've known each other for like 20 years now, man. So it was just crazy how we reconnected at a Hood show. You know what I'm saying? And then on our wedding day,
Sick.
in our wedding day, Mikey was like, "Hey, could you do these shows with us?" And I'm like, "Wow, how crazy is that, dude? Like another full circle thing right there, man. You know, like
That's cool.
yeah. So it's yeah that was insane right there."
That's awesome.
That's sick.
Um, so I've just got a couple more questions. Trevor, I don't know if you have anything else too.
I might have one or two.
Okay. So uh, a couple questions I have for you. The first one is, um, what do you think? Because you seem like you're pretty broad with like genres and stuff. What do you think from a drumming standpoint is a super underappreciated like genre of music from
uh,
a drumming standpoint?
yeah, man, wow. I would say, man, I feel like people are so quick to dismiss hair metal, man. You know,
Yeah.
just like how I feel. You know, people. I guess you could say the same thing about new metal, but it's crazy too, though. I feel like in this day and age, like new metal is somewhat acceptable. You know, like again these days, I don't. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's wild, man. You know what I mean? I just remember, like, dude. I just remember first going to hardcore shows, dude, and like, man, if you were wearing a Limp Bizkit shirt or a Creed shirt, bro, you're gonna get your ass kicked, dude. You know,
Did you just loop Creed into new metal?
No.
could
I
be
was just saying, yeah. I just, yeah, I don't, I don't know why, but
Listen,
I don't know why I brought in Creed, but yeah, no, but I
listen,
just,
same, right? Like
okay,
it can
well,
be considered new
I mean,
metal.
okay, dude, okay, maybe I was thinking about that because like '99, right? Like with when TRL was going on MTV, like, dude, all those bands were like playing together. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like, you would see Limp Bizkit and Creed on the same top 10.
Bro, I'm just giving you shit because like Creed is all of the memes right now, right? Like everyone memes Creed right now.
And I remember, like, yeah, dude, I remember you got made fun of for liking Creed back then, but now I feel like, oh, it's cool to like Creed, or
Yeah.
like these days, man. I mean, whatever, bro. Like I said, man, I got no hate, man.
Sure.
I love it all, respect it all, man. Like
Yeah. No, we're the same way. We are the same. We listen to all kinds of crap. The last question I had is, what do you feel like is the hardest genre for you to learn to play?
Oh, dude, if I'm gonna play Meshuggah songs, man, oh, dude, that's something I really need to focus on, man. And I don't even know, like, if I could even get there, dude. You know what I mean? But like,
Mm,
oh, I mean, I think, to me, I think that's the one, like, um, what was it, the song "Bleed," right, from Meshuggah? I mean,
Yeah.
dude, the patterns,
yeah.
the footwork, bro. Like, man, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do that. Maybe if I put my mind to it, dude. Like, that'd be pretty difficult, man. Like, so yeah, that whole
That's a good one.
but like, but it's crazy though. I feel like, though, if I were to sit down, dude, and actually, like, really, if I really wanted to learn like a Dillinger Escape Plan song, I just keep at it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I could probably, probably try to do that, dude. I mean, because with In Disgust we do some off time stuff, and like I said, we would get our inspirations and from all those type of bands, and but yeah, I mean, dude, I was even like tripping out with some of the unearthed stuff that I was learning, dude.
Mm.
I was just like, oh, like, I was like, could I even do this? But like, I remember, I had a chat with Mike Justin, man, with the drummer, and he was like, hey, you're good, Mike. Don't be discouraged, man. I was just, it was just one of those things, like, your mind's playing with you, man, and
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so I
Cool.
just kept at it, man. Just practice, and in the end, practice makes perfect, right? So.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I've heard. Sorry, Trevor. I know I said two
You're good.
questions,
No,
but
you're good.
just on top of that, I have heard that it is easier to learn guitar, but harder to be really good at guitar. But it's harder to learn drums, but easier to be good at it. Is that a true statement?
Ooh, man, I don't know, man. I've always heard this. Dude, I've been hearing this saying, dude, forever, man. I've always heard this saying, man, like, not, dude. I'm a big fan of guitar players. I love guitar players, man. But I've always heard this too, though. Your band is only as good as your drummer.
Mm,
Yes.
And I've it's one of those things that I've always stuck in my head. Like, man, like, well, I really, like, it's one of those things too. Like, I always keep that in mind for myself, because, like, man, I really, I mean, I'm the drummer's the backbone of the band, straight up. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And then, like, you gotta lay them beats right.
Yeah.
Try, you gotta try to play your best all the time, man. So everybody else can be good. But because I mean, dude, I've seen bands, man, with great guitar players, and the drums weren't all there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um and I mean, you can say the same thing too, how good drums too, but like guitars aren't the best, but yeah, but I
Well,
always.
there's like all these videos online of people playing, like they'll play random songs. Like I heard like an All American Reject song, but some guy was playing it with blast beats, and it like completely changes the like feel of the song, right? Like guitar
Yeah.
wise, you listen to it and you're like, yeah, this is like pop rock, pop punk or whatever. But then you play like a heavier drum and it just completely changes. So like I agree with what you're saying. Like not only from like a keeping a time standpoint, but I think the tone of the song is definitely set by the drummer. So I don't know. It's just a random question because
Yeah. No, you're good, man. You know what, dude? And there's a lot of dudes out there too, man, that are just extremely well-round talented. You know, like can play all instruments, bro. I'm like, man, well, yeah, you know, like, yeah, I wish,
That's insane.
I wish I can play, guitar too, or you know what I'm saying, like, but I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, I think I'm okay when I do karaoke. You know, people told me like, "Hey, Mike, you got a good voice," and I'm like, "Hell no," But no,
Yeah,
man, yeah, no, I just no, but it's awesome, man. When I see other guys that can do it all, man, it's like, wow,
crazy.
that's badass, man. Yeah, some guys are just very gifted, man, or
Mhm.
or they simply put in the work.
Yeah.
For real, for real.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that joke where it's like 60% of statistics are made up on the spot? That's how I feel whenever Kyle starts the sentence. I've heard it's 60% of it's just Kyle making
I'm
shit
just
up.
making it up. No, I did hear that one time. Though, I promise
So,
you.
but no, I'm just giving it crap. So you guys have one kid at home, correct?
Well, we did. Our kid is actually living with her dad. So
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, it's just the wife and I with the dogs over here. Yeah,
Okay.
we got two dogs.
So I was going to ask though. Obviously, music's probably permeating throughout, and obviously, she knows how many bands you're in. What is
Yeah.
her level of interest in music, heavy music, techno music,
Oh,
whatever she's into? What's her level
man.
of interest in music?
Dude, man, she's very open minded. She listens to it all, and I mean, man, I've caught her listening to Whitney Houston, Smash Mouth, and then out of nowhere, she was like, "Hey, I like that band Ginger." I was like, "What? Really?" And we actually when I actually took her to go see her to go see them,
Yeah,
man, and
Cool.
so that was badass. That was a fun experience, man, to get to share that with her. Like we've taken the kid to go see Journey and Toto. We went to go, we took her to go see Slipknot and Knock Loose. That was cool,
sick,
you know.
Yeah.
And then we recently took her to go see Billy Idol and Joe and Jet, and
sick.
that was all of our first time seeing them, man. I've always wanted to see those two, and that was awesome, man. So yeah, the kid loves it all, like
So
very.
we're over here geeking out when you drop Matt Fox of Shai Hulud and stuff like that. Is there any registering to her that like you went and played shows with Guar? Like like that kind of stuff. It's just like blowing my mind where I'm like, listen, Mike, you're freaking awesome. I saw you in a little tiny stage bar, dive bar playing Die Young shows, and yeah, you've played these huge shows with Guar of bands. Like, is there any registering of like that?
Oh man, man, guys, this was a proud moment, for me. I mean, dude, for one, dude, my first time going to Europe was with Die Young in '08, right? And that was a 2 month long tour. Oh my gosh, some of the craziest shows I've ever played, man. Like just buck wild, dude, right? And like the shows in Russia, I remember that tour, dude. I was like, man, I felt like Die Young was a big band, dude. Like the show in Moscow, dude, it was insane, dude. And I was just wow, like I felt like I was like, damn, Young's big out here, dude. Like they were like going crazy, singing along, dude. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Um, that dude, but then, dude, when MOD played main stage at Hellfest in 2014, dude, like we're getting ready to go, man. We're getting ready to go on, and Powerman 5000 is playing on the other half of
Oh,
the main stage, dude. Like and I'm like, I'm looking at the guitarist at Mike DeLeon, dude. And I'm like, dude, we're going on after that. Like I was like, oh my god, because Powerman 1 2 was one of those bands, man, that that I get into in the late '90s, early 2000s, man. Right? I'm like, oh, this is fucking nuts, and dude, and when we went on, bro, just that sea of people. I was like, dude, I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is it. This is everything that I busted my ass for. This is everything I work for. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. And like
Yeah.
and nothing can take that away. You know what I mean? Like this, it was wow, dude. That was a proud moment, bro. And that was the same weekend of like we played the same day as Iron Maiden, Slayer, and the same weekend as Aerosmith and Black Sabbath. You know what I mean? Like I was like, dude, just to be a part of that whole thing. It was that was wow, unbelievable
Crazy.
like experience, man.
Yeah.
And then
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, dude, that was wow, dude, I couldn't believe it, man. That was, and then to do it again with Spirit Adrift at Hellfest and play a game with Iron Maiden. I'm like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
dude? Like it's so wild, man. Like it's been very fortunate, man, and privileged to play some of these big shows, man. And dude, it's really, man, just starting up, dude. Bands over here getting involved in the Texas hardcore scene, bro. And God, look at that, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just yeah, it's just crazy.
Man, dude, that's awesome. Straight up, like, thank you for coming on here with us. Like, you guys are some of like the realest dudes we've ever met. Like, we started this podcast literally just me and Kyle just to talk crap with each other. We never really thought initially we were going to like be talking to bands. And then all of a sudden, like, we start listening to the last Will to Live record, and all of a sudden we like hit up Will to Live, and Rob's like, yeah, I'll hop on. And we were
Yeah,
mind blown. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, Daniel's in that band. We grabbed Daniel, and he's like telling us all this. We just got done talking about your guys touring in Russia and stuff like that on the last
yeah,
episode. And then to hear all the stuff that you've done, like, straight up, we came into this as just wanting to talk about bands together. And the fact that we're talking to someone who has gone, lived it, and done it is just so rewarding for us. Like, we cannot say thank you enough. Like, we seriously appreciate it. And you guys you're one of the most down to earth dudes I've ever met. Like,
man, dude.
thank you.
I appreciate that, man, dude. Hey, dude, when we were chanting up in Fort Worth, man, I already felt some good energy there, man.
Dude,
I feel like
yeah, man.
I feel like we were laughing and the jokes are going, man. I was like, it was good vibes.
Bro, I'm glad we didn't come off as just like fanboying, like weird ass
Nah,
kids kind of
no,
thing.
no. You know what though? No, you know what though, Trevor. Though, when Daniel said, dude, that you're coming out from Salt Lake City, I was just like, what? Like that's awesome, man. It always brings me joy, man, when I hear people like make like travel like that, dude. Like for the last Spirit of Drift just played Austin a couple weekends ago, right?
Yeah,
And dude, we had a guy that drove from Houston. We had dudes that came from Northern Arizona, and we had a couple dudes that drove all the way from LA. I was like, "What the hell, dude?" Just and yeah, dude, that mind blowing, man. And then, dude, that shows you who the diehards are, man, including yourself, Trevor. So thank you,
dude.
and you too,
Listen,
and you
man.
too, Kyle. Like, man, for both of you
Hey,
guys.
I drove like 40 minutes from Dallas out there,
Hey,
Like,
man.
come on.
if I
Hey,
can make it happen, I'm gonna make it happen. And like, I was stoked to hear that it lined up with like my trip, and I was able to do it. The fact that I had Kyle in town, I could bum sleeping in his guest room. Like,
yeah,
dude, it
right.
worked
Sync
out.
it up.
So like, listen, you're giving me more credit than I deserve. Like, it just happened to work with my schedule. But like, shout out to you guys. Like, I seriously appreciate it. Tons of fun. At this
Hell yeah,
point,
man.
dude, Mike, like, unfortunately, you're stuck with us now. We're friends. We're homies. We're going to continue. But dude, seriously, like, thank you so much. Like, we really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
No, man, dude. No, thank you guys, man, for having me on, man. It was great meeting you guys, dude, in Fort Worth. I'm glad we were able to connect and do this. So
Yeah,
yes, man, always, man, stay in touch, dude. Whenever you guys are, I mean, well, Kyle, you're out there in the Dallas, Fort Worth area, right?
yep,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I
Okay,
am.
cool, cool. And so like, dude, man, I feel like always passing through, man, over there. And then
For
Trevor,
sure.
whenever I'm out there
dude,
in Salt Lake, man, like,
hit me
of
up,
course,
man.
dude. Yeah, definitely will.
Like, straight
Um,
up, like, we'll go grab lunch. We'll go grab dinner. If you need a place to shower, hit me up,
Hey,
man. Like,
hey,
bum
hey,
the
hey,
house. You're good.
Hey, if I'm anywhere around the vicinity, dude, if I don't think it's too far for you, man, I'll let you know where I'm at, man. I mean,
I'm coming.
yeah, because
I'm coming.
hell yeah.
Um, so just to finish off, then, any bands or people you want to shout out real quick? Any social medias or things like that?
Yeah, dude, man. You know what, dude? Like we were talking earlier, man. How Texas has a good scene, dude. And I feel like all the bands in the area that I'm in right now that I feel like are doing really badass, dude. Like right here, Born Savage, man. Give those my boys right there. Give them props, man. They've been grinding, man. So hard, man. Like man, they're definitely putting in work and traveling and playing shows, man. Really getting out there. So I mean, that's always a true test, right? To get out there and see, if you can get the love elsewhere, man. So yeah, they definitely have been doing that. Dude, you were saying Fortunes earlier, man. Dude, Fortunes has been really kicking ass, man. Dude, another great band, man. Out of San Antonio called Inner Self, dude. Like man, those
Yeah.
kids, man. Dude, they got a lot of man, they got a lot of heart, man, and a lot of energy, dude. So yeah, that's another one right there. Um, dude, fucking my boy Rob, dude, the drummer. I mean, you may know who I'm talking about. Kyle Rob, he drums for Ballista, Soledad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's in a shitload of bands, bro. So
Mhm.
like, dude, I feel like every band that he touches, man, is badass, dude. And oh man, who else, man, dude? Corpus has got some bands out there too, man. Straightforward. Um, yeah, and who else, dude? And Houston, dude. Houston's got a lot of like good young bands right now too, dude. Crawling Back, Isolate, Juicebox. Um,
Yeah.
you know, um, and bands in Austin too. Virtue, Soul Exchange. Oh man, my boys in Beyond Reach. Like you got half of
Yeah.
the band from
Yeah.
Austin. Yeah, half of the band in Austin and half of the bands in Corpus. But dude, like they do when they get together, man,
Good
jam, dude,
stuff.
it's on, man. Yeah, they
Mhm.
bring it. Um, yeah, it's just so many, yeah, so many good young bands, man, that are out here just busting ass and kicking ass. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's I've absolutely loved getting involved and learning about the scene and trying to help the scene down here in Texas because seriously, there is just awesome music, awesome music. So,
yeah.
um,
Oh
but
yeah,
but again, seriously, Mike, thank you. Uh, it's seriously been a great time having you on. So
man.
we
I
will have
appreciate.
to do it again anytime. You are welcome anytime.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, we'll definitely catch up and hopefully we can do another segment, at the end of the year or
Sure.
something or before then,
Let's do it.
Yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's do it.
Sick,
So
Hey,
man.
cool, man. Well,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
hey,
Thanks, and yeah, see ya.
much love to you guys, man. Oh yeah.